Monday, November 24th at 6 o'clock. This is the committee meeting, Parks and Rec. It has been amended. We are getting Finance Committee information because we don't have enough Finance Committee members here. The first thing on the agenda is to provide a recommendation to Council regarding the approval of the 2026 budget, including agency funding for 2026, Troy Main Street, $60,000 to be paid quarterly, and Troy Rec, $32,000 to be paid quarterly. And
well, shine
you
a
need
light
us?
in your face.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's, I guess, that's why. We didn't know. We were going to be seeing this. Yeah, I can see.
So on Wednesday, the 19th, we had an informal, pretty comprehensive budget workshop, but I was asked so that this committee, or a committee, could make a formal recommendation to the council. We scheduled another more formal meeting so that we could get a recommendation, and in so doing, I was asked to do a summary of the discussion we had the other night. I don't know that you want me to go through all 2 hours and half. No, I got the cut sign on that one. It's good to know. But I do want to show the slides and also just kind of give you the highlights on what the 2026 recommendation represents. Overall, you'll find in these slides that I'm going to show you that we expect that our income tax revenues for 2026 will be relatively flat. That is primarily from the net corporate profit bucket of income tax that we do collect. We have not seen layoffs. We are, in fact, discussing several small, but still several, gradual expansions of some of our existing industries, and of course we continue to recruit for new businesses all the time. We while we have a 0.4% increase projected through the auditor's office for income tax revenues over 2025, we are looking at a nearly 10% arising, and we have several key construction projects that are scheduled to begin in 2026. As we have every year for over 20 years at least, Council and the Mayor have set three major goals: economic development, public safety, and then quality of life. And those continue to be the priorities that we look at when we make the recommendations to you, and we hope, we know that you'll keep those overriding goals in mind as you look to formalize this recommendation. I will show you as one of these slides, actually two of these slides, you will see charts based on Wednesday night's discussion, including a 5-year forecast of our fund balance declines that we are projecting, again, based on assumptions. So when you get to the 5th year, we know that there are a lot of factors that can come into play. New tonight is a second updated 5-year forecast based on an impact that, and I'll discuss that a little bit. And as a spoiler, that will be a third recommendation we're looking from this committee related to the budget. as far as an additional resolution that we would like the council to pass. Having said that, let me just go through the slides. These are the same slides that I do every year. I've added one, as those that were here the other night know. Here's the trend lines on our income tax revenues. As I mentioned, from 25 to 26, we are not expecting much, if any, growth between 25 and 26. 25 is flat. We are on to meet our budgeted number for 2025. We are not on track to continue the trend that we've seen in the past where we've exceeded that budget number. We do budget conservatively and try to keep everything in check. This year's been a particularly challenging one. I mentioned the net corporate profits set of collections that we do every year. More and more, I don't want to blame the state gateway. There have been some in and out issues, some lags that we've seen, so we are tracking that very closely. Nonetheless, the auditor is recommending, is forecasting up to $25.7 million in income tax collections versus $100,000 less this year. Stop me at any time if you have any questions. This bar chart shows you the breakdown between the operating, the salaries, benefits, the supplies, the operating and maintenance costs versus our capital program. Our capital program is segregated into a couple of different general fund funds. However, they are part of the general fund pool of funds because everything emanates from the general fund revenues primarily. You'll see that 2025 budget bar chart versus the 2026 shows about, I mentioned 10%, 9.9% higher. We are seeing a 9.3% increase in operating and an 11% increase in capital investment growth. I had another point to make, but I forgot it, so I'll come back to it. And I'm going the wrong way. Our general fund estimated balances. This is the chart that I showed you on Wednesday night. I don't believe it changes with the revised chart because most of the impact shows up in 2027 and beyond. But you'll see that in 24 and 25 we had budgeted for large capital improvement programs that have continued to. We continue to apply for grants. We continue to do the design and engineering work. In 2026 is when we will actually ask for authorization to bid for the construction portion. Namely, the two projects are the Low Dam project as well as the Streetscape project. And so while both of those projects, neither of those projects we expect to be done in 2026, once they are bid, once contracts are signed, then we have to encumber the entire amount. And so by the end of 2026, you'll see that fund balance drop back to the levels that you saw in 22, 3, and 4. Before I get into the 5-year forecast, I do want to take a moment and remind everybody, because I know there's some eagerness to look at the Park and Recreation Master Plan that is being finalized, and that will be presented on December 3rd. That's at 6 o'clock at the Bravo Room for those interested in attending. We do not have, other than normal, relatively small capital projects in Parks and Recreation in the normal budget or normal budget year. We do not have construction projects, renovation projects, brick and mortar type projects in the 2026 budget. because it's premature. The consultant recommendations will be on the 3rd. The work session, we've invited the park board, the recreation board, as well as the council, and of course it's open to the public and any of our stakeholders on December 3rd. You'll hear a pretty, I guess, comprehensive set of recommendations, findings and recommendations from the consultants between American Structure Point and Legacy Sports. And then what we hope is to at least begin a dialogue talking about amongst the three groups what are the priorities that ultimately the council will dictate based on hopefully based on the recommendations of the Park and Recreation boards. When do we want to implement them? Over a 3 to 5 year period or even longer? And then last but certainly not least, how do we pay for all these? Under 1C, there has been some discussion, at least amongst the boards, that maybe to better inform, maybe digest what the consultants have presented, that the Park and Recreation Board should get together and discuss what they see on at the ground level or on the ground, so that they can provide a unified set of recommendations to the council, and then maybe have a follow-up work session to finalize those priorities and then begin the process of designing and engineering. Designing and engineering is not going to be a cheap process in and of itself. We're talking about $10+ million worth of potential investment. Whenever you look at design and engineering, depending on the project, the cost can range from anywhere to 10 to 13% of the estimated construction costs. To that end, the 2026 budget does include $1 million in Fund 228, which is Park and Recreation Capital Improvement Fund, to do the design and to begin at least the designing and the engineering related to whichever priority or priorities council and the boards see as the first projects. The assumptions made in the 5-year forecast include up to $15 million of costs over a 3-year period. And again, that may take longer than 3 years to implement all of the priorities, but once you bid it, once you have a contract, it could take multiple years to finish the project, but all the money has to be encumbered. We have to have it in hand. We look at bond borrowing. This says 27. I meant to update that. I believe we changed that to 2028 per the recommendation of the auditor. And that's important because then it reflects more accurately what the 5-year plan looks like as far as fund balance goes, with debt service beginning the second half of 2028, full debt service beginning in 2029. This is the original forecast that we presented on Wednesday evening. This does include the bond borrowing in 2028 on the revenue side, but we would expect or hope to really begin projects in 2027. We would have to use some of our short-term cash flow, knowing that we have to replenish that. But the auditor believes that the 2028 bond market should maybe be more favorable than 2027. We'll continue to monitor that, and our recommendation will be based on what the market looks like. But as you can see, you see the ending balance, a drop between 2028 and 2029, a great deal. And really in the middle to the end of 2028, early 29, first couple of months in 29 is when you start to see the ending balance, the fund balance, drop below our, and significantly so, below our target balance. In any generally accepted accounting principles, would strongly recommend, not require, but if the standard is that you have a target to ensure that you are fiscally responsible enough that you're close to, if not exceeding, your target. Our target has always been, and it's an industry standard, that we want to maintain 50% operating costs plus 125% of any existing bond debt that we have outstanding. We're lucky that we have relatively low bond financing debt service outstanding right now. That's allowed us to have a target fund balance that's lower than maybe 5 or 10 years ago. But nonetheless, you see in 2026, we end the year in almost $33 million, and by the end of 2030, we're down to $6 million. As I mentioned earlier, in the 5th year, I wouldn't say that's a throwaway year, but you might not take that one quite as seriously as you do in the short run, just because there's so many factors that come into play, particularly in the 3rd or 4th year. Now, having said that, today I did an updated chart, and so one of the exercises, I guess, actions that the Miami County Budget Commission, the Miami County Budget Commission consists of the county auditor, the county recorder, and the prosecuting attorney. Those make up the Budget Commission by ORC, Ohio Revised Code. And they have determined that related to our inside millage, and our inside millage consists of 2 components. There are 4 different charts that you approve every year based on which school district and which township, because we have 2 school districts and we have 2 townships within our corporate boundaries. But also within that, we have an inside millage that we get a portion of the 10 mills that's unvoted that is part of the Ohio Revised Code. And then we also have an assessment for the Miami Conservancy District flood protection system. And we pay a rate for all of our properties. For 2026, the County Budget Commission has determined that our inside millage, let me take just a quick step back. So in June, we get a request to do the quote-unquote tax budget, which is the bare bones budget, which allows the county then to calculate the inside millage amount, again, based on, and they vary slightly based on the 4 charts that I mentioned earlier. And then, so we fill that out. You authorize us to send that to the county. The county takes that data. They determine the millage that they will assess on our behalf or collect on our behalf, and then it comes back to council for a second step, and you pass a resolution, I believe either the end of August or early September this year, to certify that to the county. Yes, we agree with that amount, and take it to give it to the county, and then they enact based on that. There's another step that we don't know about that doesn't come back to you, and that is that by the time they certify it to the state, they are updating their rolls based on the actual the assessed value of the property that's attributable to Troy parcel ID numbers. It's always, I guess it's always little higher than the amount that the council certified when it went back, and then when sent back to them in September, because they have more. We have more building that's gone on, and it's primarily that. This year, had nothing else happened, with the reassessment, the rather large reassessment that on average was 28% increase in assessed value across the county, that's a huge hit to property owners, and that hits everybody, commercial and residential. The county came back and said, look, we don't want to do that. They have the authority, either they have the authority or they're about to have the authority. I don't know. HB 335 is one of the mechanisms they can do that. Don't believe the governor has signed it yet, but he's going to. So the county has said, the county budget commission has said, look, we don't want to revise the numbers and certify with the 28% increase. Rather, they took the numbers from last year, and I'm not going to say 24, 25, 26, because there's always a lag there, but the most recent year, and they are certifying what amounts to a 4.6% or cost of living or inflationary increase. That's what they did for theirs. That's what they've asked every township and municipality in the county to do. We had a conversation with the Budget Commission on a Friday so that we can understand what the impact was. That's within the revenues that we had forecast, so we're not taking a hit at all on that, nor are we seeing any kind of windfall, which we would have had we let the assessment rule. And the assessment is something that happens every 3 years. It is a process that's dictated by the state, dictated by the Ohio Revised Code. But again, the county budget commissions do have the ability to adjust that below it if they feel that the communities can afford that, can absorb it within their fund balance. The other component that we have is the Miami Conservancy District flood protection assessment. That is, it used to consist, and I guess it now does again, of two components. One was their operating assessment, and then they had an expiring capital assessment. They have at least $100 million, if not more, worth of capital projects that they have been deferred, and they have not had any kind of rate increase, nor have they used any assessed value later than early 2010, maybe, whenever that was, 2010 or 2012, maybe even earlier than that. So the amount that they've been collecting has really lagged, and between the operating and the capital needs of the flood system, which, is encompasses, I want to say at least eight counties, from as north of Sydney and south to Hamilton, and so for the last few years, those of you that were on council, you might have recalled that Marilyn Loader, the executive director of MCD, she came in. They were looking at doing an adjustment. Actually, I believe this was the last reassessment, which was really attractive to anybody. There was some pushback on that. They are in the process of reevaluating what those rates are going to be and how they are going to assess them, how they're going to calculate them. Spoiler alert, it probably will be an assessment that will be spread out community-wide, district-wide, probably on a sliding scale basis, but the argument being that pretty much every property, if not every property, benefits in some way from a strong flood protection system. Certainly the closer you are to the floodplain and to the river, you probably benefit a little bit more. They have not finalized that. However, we do know that the costs to our properties, which currently cost around $200,000 a year for our own assessment, is going to increase substantially, as much as double, if not more, than what we pay now. We did attempt to
convince the Budget Commission that it was not something that we could absorb in the long run, given the six figures, $400,000 annual hit to our fund balance. They had taken a snapshot of our fund balance trend, and they did this with all the communities, and kind of extrapolated from there. We did try to gently correct them. I did show them the charts that we had, the projects and priorities and the needs that we have coming up in the next 5 years. We do have a small balance in the MCD fund, and so they were concerned that we were carrying a balance. I did convey that balance pays the next rates based on the bill that we get. Nonetheless, that was Friday, and today we received a revised set of certification tables, those four charts that I mentioned, and they did in fact zero out the MCD assessment or millage. So we do, and they have the right to do that. We could appeal it. Not sure what that would gain us by doing that, but I did feel it necessary so that everybody has the most accurate forecast we can give you. I created chart 4A, and it shows the impact of the new cost. So instead of the 5.98 or 6 million with the projected costs of MCD, of absorbing the MCD assessment within the general fund, there's about a $1.8 million drop by the end of 2030. So we'll have to we'll have to watch that closely. We'll have to try to manage that as best we can. There's some information. We'll have all this on the website, social media. So if anybody has any detailed questions, that QR code will take you to our website and these pages, as well as the detailed budget packet that we passed out to all of you. Overall, what we are asking for is three things. We're asking for a positive recommendation on the 2026 budget. I do want to say one thing, because it did probably was the biggest thing we talked about, or the longest thing we talked about on Wednesday night, and that is one of the capital projects that we are recommending as a phase 1 of 2 is some needed renovations to the police department building, police station. That building is 30 years old now. It has the original windows. It does have a lot of new components for the HVAC, but for a long time it had the original HVAC as well. For 2026, our recommendation, and I think the direction we got from Wednesday night, was to keep the $2.5 million in. There would be another $2.5 million in 2027. The biggest discussion point was windows and making them ballistically protective, which is a nice way of saying bullet resistant, on the first floor. To replace the glass in the windows with bullet resistant glass is very expensive. We did it on a much smaller scale downstairs with the stations at the billing and collections windows. For example, we have a lot more windows at the police station. We were given the direction to look at options, and we are doing that. We've reached out to a couple of companies to look at whether there is any kind of coating you can do on windows to see if that might be cost effective. Given the obvious fact that it is well above the administrative contract award, it will be coming back to you for more discussion when we ask for authorization to bid. and we will present all those options to you at that time. But we have already started to look into alternatives that are hopefully a lot more cost effective than doing the first floor in bulletproof glass. So I should have said that earlier, but we are asking for a positive recommendation on the budget. Mrs. Westfall, as you mentioned, we are asking for authorization for funding on a quarterly basis for Troy Main Street and Troy Rec. In previous years, we've also included requests for authorization for the Troy Development Council. Those funds are in the budget. They have not been cut from the recommendation. However, there is some reorganization that's underway, and prior to asking for any authorization, because I'd be very hesitant to make any payments not knowing which direction they're going to go. So we're not asking for authorization at this time. We would bring a report and/or an authorization to you, hopefully as early in the first quarter as possible. So that's why you don't see that one on there right now. But again, the TDC funding amount is still in 3 places in the budget, primarily in the general fund, but also in water and sewer, a small component. And then the third thing is related to the inside millage and the MCD discussion. We are going to ask that council pass a resolution at next Monday's December 1st council meeting as an emergency to support for 2026 the budget commission, I won't call them recommendations, but support their decisions related to the millage and then the zeroing out of the MCD. It's important to note that we're only asking that for this year. As part of that resolution, we will be asking that they revisit that decision next year at this time. And so we will keep a note of it when we get the next year's tables to bring to you in June, because by that time we will know what the new rates will be for the MCD, and we'll have a better idea, hopefully with some of the bids that we and contracts related to the big projects that we've got. But there's, the only other choice would be to formally file an appeal, which I believe would come from the city auditor. He's not expressed to me that he has a desire to do that at this point. I did not talk to him about today's latest on the MCD, but he was with me on Friday, so he heard all the discussion. I think he knew which direction. He's not surprised by the direction that it took. So we are asking for a resolution to support that for 2026. With that, don't know if you've got any questions.
We're moving back. I have a question looking over the budget in detail, and there's a question about the cost of credit card and bank transaction fees. Looked like Hobart Arena had $42,000 in bank-related fees. Miami Shores had $34,000 in credit card fees, and then water billing collection showed $8,400 in new bank fees. I'm not sure if that's credit card fees or whatever, but is there any way that we can allow for, sometimes when you're shopping, you pay an extra fee to use your credit card.
We do that. We've incorporated that into our fee structure, so you'll see on the revenue side of those funds that you listed, that there is a revenue offset there.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome. And then is the sidewalk assessments going to be in the 26 budget then, as far as the downtown
That is part of the streetscape project cost. On the revenue side, that is something that can be adjusted on the revenue. You do not pass the revenues. That's not part of the appropriation. It's just the expense side.
Okay.
Regardless, if you do no assessment, if you do 100% assessment, something in between, that's not going to impact the amount of the bid, because we'll have to bid and pay for all of that, and then anything that would be collected would be either immediate if they pay it up front or over 5 years. So then that would be a revenue offset.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? I'll let him go first.
No, obviously, with the Conservancy District, I think that's, something that can go unlooked and is unappealing to some, but in Troy, we don't have to look back too far away to see what can happen when we don't keep up with those type of projects. So it's an important thing to move forward with. So other than that, I had no new questions from tonight's discussion, though.
I just wanted to be clear about the issue with the police department. We're keeping it at 2026 and 2027. We are not going to do that 3.
That's the direction that we got on Wednesday night, yes.
Okay.
So it remains at $2.5 million in 2026. Of course, 2027 you could change, because that's not appropriated this year for next year. But for 2026, we left it at the $2.5 million, which is phase 1 of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just real quick, for those who weren't here and were watching on video, there was a discussion about whether to do police improvements over 3 years or 2. There's a cost difference to do it over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Ms. Marshall was talking about.
Significant cost difference.
Yeah.
Like $500,000 or
It was a
$600,000.
lot, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to make sure that we were keeping it at 2 and not extending it to 3.
All right. So, and I apologize, I did not introduce myself. I am Susan Westfall. Mrs. Marshall and Mr. Whidden are part of the Parks and Recs committee that are handling this tonight, because this got put in a committee that I was in, because I was there on Wednesday, if that makes sense. Okay. So do we move on to the second? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
Other questions?
The audio was a little iffy on the committee meeting Wednesday, so I was a little left understanding what the $2.5 million with the police project, what that was going to encompass exactly.
Okay. You should have received an email with the detailed analysis or the presentation as well as the breakdown. The phase 1 would be primarily the windows, all the windows, first and second floor, as well as renovations to the basement. Basically, it'd be moving some load-bearing walls, relocating the locker rooms, which our staff complement has outgrown, and flip-flopping that with the fitness area, as well as expanding the women's locker room, since we now have 3 officers, and that's primarily that phase. And then phase 2 would be primarily the first floor, repurposing the holding cell area, which we've never been able to use as a holding cell, making that the on-call room now that we're in 12-hour shifts, and we have a much larger complement than we did 30 years ago, and doing other related renovations there into the Sally Port.
Okay. All right.
I will say that I did go take a tour of the police department, and they did show me, the issues that they do have and what they are planning on improving and how they're planning on moving the walls and things, and I do have a copy. And they said that anybody is more than welcome to come over. They'd be happy to show you and you could actually see what,
Well, I've been in the building several times, so I'm
Oh, have
aware
you?
of what the layout is, but,
the holding cell.
and been through a building redesign and all that.
He was allowed to leave every time.
So anyway, okay, that is good. That meets my,
It did show, the email did show the befores
yeah,
and
I got it.
afters and all
I
that,
read
yeah.
it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was very helpful to see all of that. Anybody else?
That's all I have, ma'am.
No? Nope. Anybody from the audience, other staff members, council members? Future council members? Public?
Well, we're all here together, let's have fun.
Mhm.
One of the things that's obvious that draws my eye to it was the capital line. Capital, you're gonna spend more money in capital in 2026 than the next 4 years combined. Now, that, on the surface of it, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Especially since next year you wind up spending the 28 million plus, and the balances go down. Then the next couple of years, all you're spending is 7 million for the next 4 years on capital. Now, on the surface, it just seems odd to me. And it's got nothing to do with bulletproof and all the other nonsense we talked about. So, I think it seems like it should be a way to manage that, so you can kind of get the ending balances a little bit more in our favor, rather than 2030, we all wake up and say, oh, my God, we're gonna have to raise taxes or fire everybody, okay? You're really down to, if that's true, you're gonna have to start managing a hell of a lot better than what that shows. It's not gonna go away. That balance is intended to get you through the rainy days, and just ignoring it now doesn't make it go away. So I would expect all of you to take a look at it and say, Jesus, is there a way to avoid falling off the cliff? That's the only thing I've got to add. Oh, also Wednesday, are we going to see, before we have that, are we going to be able to see the results of the public survey? I know the consultant's going to say something. I want to know
Are you talking about the park?
what the citizens ask.
Yeah, that'll be part of the presentation. They're for today. We're trying to get it out, I don't know, about the end of this week, and really need to, I know.
The survey was done in August.
I know,
This is November.
but Mr. Hendricks, that survey only shows you the raw data, and then from that point, they took the survey data, they compiled that along with the focus groups. There was also, just some follow-up analysis that was done, and now the sports group came in to supplement.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they need to show you the whole package together.
Are they going to do that?
And they are going to do that. That is
Say,
part
here's our
of,
recommendation.
no, they're going to start with the findings,
Okay.
and then they,
And the findings being the survey.
yes, that'll include it, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I think it's important. We all know that the public did have a say in this,
Yes.
and not some consultant flew in over the weekend and decided what they wanted.
Nope, that'll be part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Patrick, on some of the capital, wasn't for 26, it was pushed from 25 into 26?
24 and 25, actually, that's why you saw the big
It's being pushed
spike,
into
and now
26.
it's into 26. We've, those of you who followed the five-year forecast for, a long time, we do try to smooth out the capital. There's a timing element of it, and this is certainly going to be a very big one. But, in addition to the low dam, the streetscapes, the PD project, we also have, I have this number. We have the 1.5 million for the local roads. We're looking at about 12.5 lane miles of roads, approximately 25 sections of the local streets that we're going to, we recommend that we do again. And when we have almost another $1 million of major roads, 5 different roads that we are able, at least in 4 out of 5 of them, those are grants that we're receiving, and so our cost is only 20% of the total cost, with ODOT financing the other 80%, and then the experiment road resurfacing, that will be a 60-40 split between ODOT and us. That involves some federal money, so the split is a little different. So you've got $1 million there. Wish we could time it differently, but once you're on that list, once you're on a particular schedule, if you try to move it from that schedule, you lose your place. And I think anybody that's driven Experiment Farm Road lately knows we don't want to lose our place.
No. Oh, I guess.
Hello, Madison Hickman for 2 Lincoln Avenue. I know one of the things that you had pointed out to us, Mr. Chitterington, during the meeting Wednesday was the $26,000 lightning detector for the pool. Is that included in the previous approval of renovations that were coming in 2026, or is this an additional? If it's additional, do we need another lightning detector in the city? When you said there's one out at Duke, I think?
Yeah, the one at Duke is not cannot serve as an indication for the pool.
Does the pool need it? I
yes,
used to run a pool.
Yes.
A public pool.
We had hoped to have it, and there used to be where you could have an add-on to it, so you still had a device at the pool, but it would play off of the Duke Park. I don't know how that works. Apparently they didn't either, because they don't do that anymore.
But
it is far enough away that, yes, I mean, you got water, it's wide open space, you start seeing lightning, you bail. So
I ran a public pool and we did not have one. My mom ran this Smash and Splash this year. They did not have to have one. If there's not a law that says we have to have one, I don't understand why we need to have one at $26,000.
I don't know if it's a law. 26,000 in the grand scheme of things. It was recommended by the Recreation Board as a relatively small price to pay, and we've got a lot of steel wrought iron fence out there, as well as a few thousand cubic feet of water, and so we just felt like that recommendation needed to stay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, moving on to the second item.
So you're
Take a vote.
Oh, yeah.
You're recommending
yes.
all 3 of
All right.
those? I hope.
What would you like to do?
I would give a positive recommendation to all 3 of the recommendations coming from the budget.
With the emergency?
With emergency.
Yeah. We don't need emergency for the budget, because that goes into effect January 1st anyway, but we appreciate your support.
Move forward.
Right, and I agree. So it's an emergency for the Troy Main Street and the Troy Rec.
We don't
funding.
need that. We don't need to do that, no.
So we don't need any emergency?
We do for the final resolution, the one for the millage, yes.
Okay, gotcha, the MCD thing.
And MCD, right.
Okay, all right, then it's unanimous that we move forward.
Okay.
All right.
Second item is we did receive a request from Speakeasy Ramen, and the Loan Review Committee met regarding their making amendments to their January 2022 CDBG Economic Development Revolving Loan. That loan was for $300,000. It was to finance equipment for the Mizo's restaurant. They recently changed their format, their theme, and have reopened as 41 Grill and Draft House. Their menu is changing substantially, and so they have some new equipment needs, and what they have requested the Loan Review Committee to restructure their loan so that they could have 6 months of interest only, and then for, I believe, the next 6 or so months, they would make up for that and then go back to the debt service that they were paying. That was their request. We could have added it to the end of the loan, but they chose not to, so that was they wanted to do that. They have not missed a loan payment. They've been current. They're down to less than, or almost $174,000. But again, their new concept requires some new equipment, and costs related to that equipment. And so the Loan Review Committee recommended unanimously that this committee recommend to the council this restructuring of the loan, because we want to close on the changes to the loan as quickly as possible. Then we are asking for emergency consideration.
Questions?
I think it makes perfect sense. It's a program we use to help our local businesses. They haven't had any financial difficulties or paying us back before, and we're changing the theme. It makes perfect sense to me.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Christie?
Yeah, I'm good.
Anybody else?
Thank you. These are the same owners of the speakeasy. They're just a name change and a business
Correct.
concept
change, right.
Change.
Their business plan changed.
Did this require a new occupancy permit for them to do the building?
Not a new occupancy.
Under the
They
name.
did a new sign application that the planning commission approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any other council members, staff, audience? No? I also agree that anything that helps our local businesses stay in business is a good thing. How would you like to proceed?
Move forward.
It's unanimous to move forward with emergency legislation.
All right.
Anything
Thank you.
further?
No,
Nope.
no, ma'am.
We're adjourned for the Parks and Rec.
Thank you.